Well, hello everyone and welcome back. So what's on tap for today? Well, we've got another reaction video of one of our favorite senators questioning and grilling the Federal Bureau of Prisons Director, Collette Peters. That's right, folks, it's Tom Cotton and Collette Peters is in the hot seat. We're going to get to that in just the next few seconds. But before we do so, we hope you subscribe to our channel because you are watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your guest host for today. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't already done so, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Hey, we want your comments. After the video, let us know what you think, all right? Let's get to Tom Cotton and our reaction video.
Welcome, Ms. Peters. I have to say, I find myself a bit mystified by the comments that Senator Durbin made earlier. He talked about seeking stiffer penalties for prisoner abuse cases. Of course, no prisoner should be abused, and if a prison guard is found guilty of doing so after being afforded due process of law, I'd favor them facing stiff penalties. One of the main reasons we oppose stiff penalties, of course, is because it has a deterrent effect. And Senator Durbin and many of the other Democrats in this committee, like Senator Booker, seem to have a very selective view of when deterrence comes into play. Just yesterday, in fact, Senator Durbin blocked bills on the floor that would impose stiffer penalties for fentanyl, which is poisoning children all across America. Bills that I offered, bills that Senator Grassley offered. Senator Booker has repeatedly offered or blocked my legislation that would permanently schedule fentanyl under the Controlled Substance Act. So our Democratic friends seem to have a very curious and selective view of when stiff penalties will have an actual deterrent effect.
Democrats, soft on crime.
Now, let me move on, Ms. Peters. This is your first appearance before the committee since this is not a Senate-confirmed position. So I'd like to ask you a couple basic questions that nominees for the committee always get asked. I assume you would agree that it's important for you and executive branch officials to be responsive to requests from Congress for information?
Yes, sir.
And I would assume that you also agree that it's important for you and executive branch officials to be responsive to requests from the public if information is requested properly under the Freedom of Information Act. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so right now, asking these softball questions, you know that you're supposed to comply whenever Congress asks you for information, right? And give it to us. We need it, and you agree. Oh, I agree. Oh, and when the public asks you a question or somebody in the public wants to know something on the Freedom of Information Act, right? You're supposed to release that information. You agree. Oh, I agree. But then when it comes down to it, oh, the lawyers are going to get involved. And then you got to file the Freedom of Information Act papers. And then maybe a couple of 100 years later, those papers will come to you. And then they'll be probably heavily redacted for national security purposes or whatever. Who knows? Or the lawyers get involved. And then they send you back a reply to your reply saying, what is it exactly that you want? Then you tell them exactly what it is. And then the lawyers send you back something, well, yeah, I don't know if we can do this or not. Can you be a little bit more specific? And round and round and round, the Washington merry-go-round goes. Let's continue.
The reason I ask is that because at the beginning of the pandemic, Congress passed the CARES Act, the first major coronavirus response bill, which gave temporary authority to the Bureau of Prisons to allow some inmates to serve out part of their sentences at home until the pandemic ended, or until the availability of vaccines meant that prisoners could again be housed in a secure location.
Big mistake.
But jailbreak activists, to include so-called progressive criminal justice reformers, asked the Biden administration to twist the law and have the Bureau use the pandemic as an excuse to release as many inmates as possible and never return them to prison and to finish their sentences after the pandemic ended. I know that this was before you started, but it was publicly reported that those jailbreak activists asked the Department of Justice to rewrite the law to achieve their soft on crime goals. Now, the department is proposing a new rule that would give the Bureau of Prisons authority to release tens of thousands of additional criminals and not require them to serve their sentences. This would not only be an enormous mistake in the middle of a crime wave, it would also be illegal.
These people don't give a flying fig about the safety and security and the concern for the United States citizens. You're going to freaking release tens of thousands of criminals, felons, murderers, rapists? I mean, come on, folks. These jailbreak activists, oh my God, you talk about stupid, idiotic, moronic, retarded people. These guys don't give a damn about the average American citizen or any American citizen. All they care about is the rights of convicted felons, convicted murderers, convicted rapists, convicted muggers, convicted drug kingpins. That's all they care about. That's all the empathy is for. The empathy is for the person who committed the freaking crime, not the victims. God, that ticks me off.
In January, I sent Attorney General Merrick Garland a letter to provide the exact same information that he would be required by law to provide any interested member of the public. That is, written copies of communications and meeting records between the Biden administration and these jailbreak activists where they discuss policy. This week, more than 8 months later, one of the Attorney General's underlings finally sent a cursory response providing exactly none of that information. I say this simply as a cautionary tale. I hope that you will be more responsive than the Attorney General, who has politicized the department, who seems unable to stand up to far left-wing activists in his own department and to enforce the law neutrally, at the same time that he sicks the feds on parents at school boards, or send armed agents into a Catholic minister's home, a man named Matt Hoke, when he had agreed already to cooperate with any investigation into his supposed crimes. Now, the Attorney General is going to have a reckoning whenever he faces a Republican Congress in January. I hope, though, that you will simply cooperate with timely requests for information from members of Congress and from the public. Now, Ms. Peters, on a related point, I want to note that the President said just a couple weeks ago, the pandemic is over.
President's an idiot.
Is President Biden wrong?
He's a moron.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate the cautionary tale about being responsive. We certainly want to be as responsive as we can at the Bureau of Prisons to both members of Congress requests and also that of the general public. As we pivot out of the pandemic and really focus on kind of a future state as it relates to the pandemic, we do have that rule under review that will give the Bureau guidance on those individuals that were released on home care confinement. We're hoping to see what that rule looks like here in the coming weeks, and I look forward to reviewing it when it's finalized.
So, Ms. Peters.
I'll tell you what that rule is going to look like, okay, lady? Let me mansplain. Lucy, you got some splaining to do. Let me mansplain it to you, honey. There are going to be instances, many hundreds, if not thousands of instances of those same people that were let out of jail early, okay, because of, oh, I might get COVID-19, oh, whoop-de-freaking do. So what? The United States population, a lot of people were getting COVID, whether they had the vaccine or didn't have it. So what's the big deal? Get the vaccine in the hospital, in the jail. But I can't tell you here, madam, that you're going to see hundreds, if not thousands of instances of those felons going back to their life of crime. And unfortunately, it's going to do a tremendous amount of harm to the American public, to the men and women of this country, to the citizens of this country. We all know that's what's going to happen. You have to wait for a report to come out to tell you that.
Peters, is the president wrong? Is the pandemic over or not over?
Senator, I am not a health professional. I would not be able to make that.
But it's part of your job as the director of the bureaus to ensure that our prisons can adapt to pandemic conditions. Do you know how many criminals are currently serving their sentence at home who should be in the prison?
I don't have that number in front of me. Senator.
It's over 11,000. That includes 647 gun criminals, bomb makers, and other weapons criminals. 13 murderers. 5,870 drug traffickers. Are you certain that not a single one of those criminals who are serving their sentence at home are currently engaged in criminal activity?
Thank you, Senator. I could never make that certain determination.
I don't think anyone could. In fact, I'm pretty certain that at least one of them is, probably a lot of them.
I mean, come on, folks. God, sometimes, you're watching these videos and you just want to throw up. You get so ticked off. You get so pissed off. And then you're just wondering what the hell's going on over here. They released over 11,000 prisoners because of freaking the pandemic. These jailbreak activists, I'm telling you what, folks, they make me freaking sick. Unbelievable. God. Well, before I start, getting into a situation here where words are going to start flying out that are going to get everybody in trouble or whatever, let's just end this thing here. I got to calm down, all right? I got to get my blood pressure down a little bit. Anyways, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to watch. And if you haven't already done so, it's your first time here, hey, go ahead, subscribe to the channel because you're watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I was your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. Hit that notification bell. Like, share, and follow us, on all the other social media platforms. And you know what? Comment down below. Let us know what you think. You think 11,000 was too little? Did you think it should have been 111,000? Should have been, 1,000? I mean, give us an idea. Anyways, I'll leave you with my final thought, which is when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. See you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.